Hello, I'm Regina Botras, and this is Backstage, where we talk with the who's who on stage, in dance, comedy and performing arts, speaking with the leading theatre makers of our times and how they came to the stage and what drives them and inspires them. I'm joined by award-winning street photographer Alex McClintock, and he's joining up with Mike Williams in a genre-bending slideshow documentary at Sydney Fringe Festival this year called 24 Hours in King's Cross. Alex is an award-winning photographer. He's actually based in King's Cross, and his work has been seen at various international street photography festivals, and he's also the author of On the Chin. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Now, I've seen Mike's show, last year in set in Marrickville. And in that show, he's used music, guitar, and taken a sort of a tour through Marrickville. How did you come to be involved, and what are you bringing, and how are you writing this?
So, like you, I went and saw Mike's show last year about Marrickville, and it absolutely knocked my socks off.
So fun.
It was so fun. And I worked with Mike at the ABC, that's how I know him. And after the show, I knew it was going to be good, but I just didn't expect it to be so emotional and funny and tender. And afterwards, I did the sort of egomaniacal thing of saying, man, that was so good. You know what would make that better? Some photos. And he was like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's give it a crack. Let's try and make something together. And so we came up with this concept that we would go out for 24 hours in King's Cross, because Mike used to live in King's Cross as well, and we would make sort of like a live slice of life documentary and bring what we recorded and what we shot home and then write a show around that. And that's what we've done.
I love it. And it actually, because I'm a radio maker myself as well, and it makes me think of one of my favorite This American Life stories, which is 24 Hours in the Golden Apple, where it kind of traverses actually 24 hours. Are you doing that? Are we going from a certain time of day through the evening into the morning?
Yes, absolutely. So Mike and I met at 9 o'clock at the LL Main Fountain in Fitzroy Gardens. And we finished at 9 o'clock the next morning at the LL Main Fountain in Fitzroy Gardens. And everything that happened in between, I'm sure you can imagine the sorts of characters we ran into at King's Cross. We managed to get into a strip club. We went into Australia's only nursing home for people at risk of homelessness, and we spoke to all the residents and photographed them. We went into an adult toy shop. We spoke to a whole bunch of local legends. We spoke to people at the markets who are buying their organic zucchinis. So we sort of tried to cover, the old King's Cross and the crazy nightlife scene, but also what King's Cross has become, what it means to people who've been there for a long time. We tried to get at it from every angle we could.
That's so exciting. Did you have any, a couple of tricks up your sleeve already, like people you knew you were going to talk with?
Yeah, we had a few. We sort of mostly worked in the way where we just tried to stumble on whatever we could. But we had a few things teed up, like the nursing home. A friend of mine is an art therapist there. And she said, oh, well, you can come along. We do a weekly quiz. So why don't you guys come to that? Which was really, really cool. But yeah, a lot of it. And we sort of had a bingo card. We were like, we definitely want to speak to a guy who's like getting a tattoo in the middle of the night. We definitely want to speak to some backpackers. We definitely want to speak to a exotic dancer or someone who's involved in the adult industry. And we ticked all those things off, I'm proud to say.
That is such a great idea. It's sounding like a fun way to make a story as well. What day of the week? I just have to ask, what day of the week did you do it on? 9 o'clock in the morning?
Friday night, of course.
Friday, great. Look, I used to live in the Cross. I lived in just not far from the Coke sign, off one of those side streets. And Sean Dolly's is a new venue, and I can't wait to get in there. And it has changed so much since then. I was there in the 90s and then came back a few times. And it was really like there were axe murders at the end of my street back then. Do you get some of that history?
We definitely got some of that history because we ended up speaking to a lot of long-time residents. Um, I mean, that's the thing. King's Cross changes a lot. As soon as you hit that LL main fountain and go around the corner into Potts Point and Elizabeth Bay, it's like, wow, we're in a whole different world here. Um, but yeah, we did get a lot of that history because we spoke to a guy who's sort of like a local historian, and he told us a lot about, it gave us a lot of background on the way that King's Cross, was really a place with cheap accommodation in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, because it was the first place in Australia really to have lots of apartments. Um, and then the story sort of changed, especially with the Vietnam War, as heroin came in, and there was that sort of like crime. There was the 90s nightclubbing scene, and noughties nightclubbing scene that was probably me and Mike's heyday. And then with the lockout laws, things have really quieted down. But the interesting thing is that even though it maybe doesn't have the thing where, the races finish or something and 10,000 people turn up in the cross of an evening, but it still draws people from around Sydney and around the state. That's what's interesting about it. There's people who come from all around Sydney to access the support services that are still there, because you still have the legal injecting room there. There's still a lot of mental health care. St. Vincent's is right around the corner. And then you have some people maybe who like have heard about like, oh my God, the cross from their parents. So you get like,
Yeah.
like the girls down from Mudgee on their hens night. And you get people who are visiting to relive their heyday. And so, yeah, it's still a really interesting slice of life, even if it's very different to what it was before Mike Baird and the lockout laws.
Yeah. And previously it's just been a one-man show with Mike Williams. Are you joining him, on the stage?
Absolutely. So we've both written it together, and the format is going to be, I'm not sure if other people have seen Mike's shows, but he's sort of presenting and playing in audio to an audience and playing music. Unfortunately, I'm not very musical, so I'm going to have to play the triangle. But we're both going to be on stage, and I'm going to be controlling the photo slideshow. He's going to be controlling the audio, and there's going to be a whole lot of surprises built in there as well.
And so how do you capture, like, what are you kind of looking for in street photography?
Well, I always look to capture characters or action. So a lot of this was more character-based, because rather than being the sort of candid street photography that I'm used to doing, where it's sort of like bang and you're gone, this is much more documentary. Like I was spending, say, an hour with the nursing home residents, or 15 very expensive minutes with a stripper. And and so like that stuff, like in some ways it was great because I got to engage more with my subjects, and the photos became more meaningful because of that. But it's also really interesting the way the photos interact with the audio, because I've been thinking about it, and me and Mike, if we had the skills, we could have made a film documentary, like a feature-length documentary, a short documentary, what have you. But somehow, because audio and photographs are both mediums that leave a little bit to the imagination, you have to fill in what's outside the frame, and you have to fill in what's inside the frame in your mind when you're listening. They work really well together. It still leaves something for you to think about. Whereas if we just press play on a video, it's much more didactic.
Yeah, it's telling you too much. It's not allowing you to build the story as well. So I was wondering, like, by 9 a.m. the next morning, I mean, did anyone nap along the way? Is there like some photos of nappers that you?
We were stuffed the next morning. I got like quite a few photos of people like asleep on the street going into the next morning. But no, not for us. We were extremely fatigued by the time we got to the fountain and the Potts Point markets. which also felt like a very strange gear shift from, like hanging out with backpackers and like a drunk guy getting a tattoo. And then it was like, shift down into activewear, lemon and alkaline water sort of vibes. I was like, oh, so this is the new King's Cross.
Oh, well, look, Alex, I can't wait to see you playing the tambourine, the triangle on stage.
Whoa, please, no tambourine.
That's next level. Well, you can work up to that. I am so excited to see this production, and thank you so much for joining me to talk about it.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait to see you there.
Alex McClintock there, and 24 Hours in King's Cross is playing at Sean Dolly's as part of Sydney Fringe Festival from the 10th to the 20th of September. Look, it looks like such a fun show. I just can't wait.